Hello students, I am from Cavalier. Today I am going to talk of one of the very important aspects which comes to a great highlight during interview, and that is body language. I have seen that a lot of people do not understand the importance of body language. If we analyze how communications are understood and seen by the interviewing officer, then it would be the words that we use for talking, that is verbal conversation, is just about 7%, whereas 38% is your non-verbal communication, the way you look at him, the way you smile. Essentially it is tone, tenor, gestures, modulation are the 38% of your communication. But the majority is taken by body language, which is 55%. 55%. The way you sit, the way your body is, the way you clasp your hands, the way you shake, whatever you do is actually body language. In an interview, it is important to understand that body language plays a mega and a major role. And it really starts from the moment you knock at the door. Your two crisp knocks actually tells him that you're a confident guy. And the way you walk up to him with your chest out, stomach pulled in, measured, calibrated steps, walking up to him, looking right into his eyes, it actually tells him that you're a confident person. Your walk actually talks of your walk, your gait, tells him about the state of your mind. Please do understand, before we graduate into the greater depths of body language, I want you to understand one basic thing, that body is nothing but it indicates, body language indicates state of our mind. Everything happens in our mind. When we are happy, unhappy, sad, full of enthusiasm, nervous, confident, everything happens here. But happens in our brain. But it gets communicated to the world through our body language. Let me enunciate a small little example so that you understand. Have you ever seen a fight on the roadside? Do you see the way people stand with their chest out, howling at each other, waving their hands without even striking them, because they are trying to show aggression? And where is this aggression taking place? It's in the mind. The whole stress is in the mind, to win, to fight, or to run away. And towards that they use their body language. And similarly in the interview, your body language is constantly indicator of your state of mind. The way you shake hands with him. If you're shaking hands with him, your hand should be dry, warm and firm. The way you look at him, your looking at him should be a soft eye contact. The way I am looking at you people. I'm not staring, my eyes are not getting out of my sockets because I am excited. But I should be always cool, calm and composed. That's the mindset. And that mindset gets conveyed through the body language. When I stand up to the interviewing officer, when I shake hands with him, my hand should be dry, warm and firm. I should not squeeze his hand. By the very fact that I am a strong individual, it does not mean that when I interact with a person, I start squeezing his hand. I have seen that majority of the candidates who come from gym, they want to prove their strength, they start squeezing the hands of the interviewing officer. And I can assure you, this is a very poor trait. But a strong candidate who stays in that moment, he understands the pressure of the interviewing officer's hand and he will match that pressure. He will not overexert and he will not underexert. He will match that pressure. And he actually feels when his interviewing officer shakes hands with you, and he shakes your hand maybe about once or twice, and the smart individual is constantly aware. The moment the interviewing officer releases the pressure on the hand, it is time for him to take out his hand. But if we are stressed, we seldom take out our hand. We hang on to interviewing officer's hand, looking for perhaps a pillar or perhaps a place to get some strength from. Instead of removing our hand, we keep on holding on, looking for support. After having shaken hands with him, he tells you to take the seat. The way we are seated, it actually tells of our state of mind. Reasonable number of candidates will sit on the edge of the chair, which is a clear indicator that this child is edgy, is nervous, is afraid of this present interaction, and is really in a hurry to run away or to put an end to this interaction. And a smart candidate, when he sits on the chair, he sits fully into the chair with his hips touching the back of the chair and his whole back touching the back of the chair. His chest stands out. So what it tells the interviewing officer is that this gentleman is really a confident child. And actually, by touching your back, the full back, if I have to sit on a chair, I'll have my hip. This is the back of the chair. My hips will touch the back of the chair. My whole back touches the back of the chair. Actually, what I have done, I have stabilized my spinal column for this 35 minutes of interview. My body will not be shaking up, down. Presently, my body is not touching the back of the chair because I want you to realize how a poor body looks like. But when I am there, I'll be seated like this. When my whole body is supported by this chair, and my body is not shaking left, right, and center. And when I sit down like this, what actually happens is that my chest opens out. When he sees a person with an open chest, he realizes this person is not in threat. And furthermore, there is another game which is being played, what is happening inside our body. When my chest opens out, actually my lungs open out. And when my lungs open out, I start undertaking deep breathing, or casually we can say Baba Ramdev comes in, and there's huge amount of oxygen which comes into my mind, into my brain, and when there is increase of oxygen, my nervous system starts cooling down. And similarly, when a student sits on the chair, his palms are open, his hands are on his thighs, his hands are not outstretched or they're not pulled in. His palms are open. An open palm is exactly, if you remember how to do Tata. And when do you do Tata or bye-bye? When we are sure of ourselves, when we are in comfort zone, when we are not stressed. But the moment we get stressed, suppose for example, if I see a adversary of mine in a crowd, what will I do? My whole endeavor will be to shrink my body size, to clasp my hands, get ready for the fight, probably pick up my pen or take out something, use it to stab that guy in case if I get into trouble. I start looking at the escape route. But if I am cool, calm, composed and I am not under any threat, my palms will always be open. So smart people keep their palms on their thighs and they keep their chest out. And that is how we actually sit for the interview. Do remember clasping of hands, shaking of your hands, moving of your fingers, your thumb. Thumb is actually, when we get nervous, thumb is one thing which definitely starts jumping. Smart people never let their thumb move. And do understand that body language is not only this part, but it is the eyes, the way you look at the interviewing officer. A smart, confident interviewing student will always ensure that his eyes are on the interviewing officer and he is not staring him, but he is making a soft eye contact with him. And when will you do this? When you are stable, cool, calm, composed on this, that is your mind. That's the time when Arjun comes out and Arjun को क्या दिखाई देता है? केवल चिड़िया की आँख. And the smart student only sees the eyes of the interviewing officer. Actually, what is he doing? He's getting into a tunnel vision. He just looks through that tunnel and nothing else exists for him. He actually immerses himself in that experience of 30 to 45 minutes without any distraction. And if you can do that, you have actually showed him solid, positive body language. I've seen that a lot of candidates will tilt their head. A tilted head is an indicator of either an overconfident child or an underconfident child. I'm sure you would have remembered seen movies of Dawn when it says "Maar do usko," or you have seen that "Mar gaya zahar." The way we keep our head, a smart student will always keep his head straight. His head will not be tilting, na aage, na piche, na left, na right. It is always right, bang on, because he's the master of his body. He knows that his mind controls his body and is master of his mind by controlling his body. So that is what is very important. Please do understand that there are certain other signs also which comes in, which shows a lot of stress, heavy breathing. A lot of people will get into breathing. So please do understand, heavy breathing is a clear indicator of huge amount of stress. Not many people do not understand that during interview, if they are not cool, calm, composed, they start sweating excessively. Even in an AC environment, the sweat is trickling all around, and which tells the interviewing officer that this gentleman or this girl or this boy or the candidate is under great stress. Similarly, a lot of people, their lips go white. The lips absolutely go white, and they go into lip smacking. Start licking their lips. जैसे कि सांप की जब टंग बाहर निकलती है ना, they keep on doing all these things, and this is a clear indicator कि बच्चा stress में है. Number of times it is important to understand that little bit of stress is normal, and especially in the initial stages when we sit down, the stresses are very high. If I realize that I get stressed from my experience, then it is imperative that before going for interview, I take a swig of water. I just take one sip of water just to ensure that my mouth is not dry. I don't drink whole 1 liter of water because then I'll have to run to the loo. But when I'm aware of my body, I do things so that when I get into the event, I'm prepared for it. So my endeavor in this interview was to tell you about your body language, how to sit. Please make sure how to look at the interviewing officer, how to stabilize your body, how to make sure that your feet are firmly on the ground, your arms, your hands, your palms are exhibiting positivity. They're exhibiting comfort in yourself. They're exhibiting surety, confidence in yourself. And at the same time, I give certain things which are clear indicators of nervousness, that is heavy breathing, not holding hands, clasping your hands, licking your lips, deep breathing, not looking at the interviewing officer and your eyes running all around the place. These are the great indicators of lack of confidence and lack of commitment and conviction into your thought process. Please do understand two important aspects. Interview happens here in our mind, and our mind controls our body. We communicate many things through words and lot of things through our body. A smart person is sure of this aspect, and he uses his mind to ensure that his body is under his control. Please do not use excessive use of hands. Normal use of hand once in a while is all right. If you see in this talk, my hands were seldom being used, but once in a while you may use it. We are not suggesting become mannequins, become statues, but we are not saying keep on using hands all around and become. And when we use excessive use of hand, for example, let me give you a good example which I find that I was quite amused to see one of these candidates who went to 𝗙𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 and he tells me, sir, I went in Delhi, there's 𝗙𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 and in that they make this big paratha and they cut it into 8 pieces. I eat 4 of them and I pack 4 of them and I give it to my mother. And when my mother tells me, next time you go over there, please get paneer ka paratha. This aloo ka paratha, I don't like it. This boy was actually using his hands, throwing his hands, actually to dissipate tension from his body. But a smart boy could have just told him, sir, I like paranthe wali gali. And when I go there, they have a very big parantha which actually can be cut into 8 pieces. And my mother loves gobi ka paranthas. That's all. It is so plain and simple. One need not do this theatrics. Number of times we do not realize it, but in interview it is a different ball game. The mind starts getting stressed and we start doing things which are avoidable and which are a clear indicator to the interviewing officer that this child is stressed. I hope this video is of some avail, is of some education to you. If you have any doubts, you're most welcome to get in touch with Cavalier. We will ensure that if there's any ambiguity, any issue, we'll be very glad to resolve it, because we believe that your success is our success. Thank you and God bless you.